oh my gosh, this actually works.
Each shout has 3 components. There are 3 words. And so it becomes like, okay, I say one word, you know, foos, and then ro, and da. And so when you're doing this as a gameplay device, it's like, it has to all meld together, like foos, ro, da.
When you say, foos, ro, da, like that, that's when the big clap of thunder, you know, should fire off in the game. And this blast of energy comes out of the player and knocks your opponent off their feet. And if it all times up just right, it feels perfect.
You have these walls where you learn the words of power usually, and they are these ancient writings of the Nords who knew the language.
One of our concept artists, Adam, come up with like the visual, you know. Todd was directing him. It's like, no, it's gonna look like, you know, if the dragons had clawed it into the stone. So it's very jagged looking.
And he decided, well, all right, the dragon has this many claws. It probably uses its thumb claw as like a rotation point. And then he started sketching out different scratch patterns, and eventually that became the language. Skyrim's the most northern province in Tamriel, so it's the home of the Nords. It's really heavy, snow-covered mountains and this really rugged environment.
Really one of these like large, craggy features that erupt out of the ground, giving you these kind of dramatic, sheer visuals and vistas to walk and travel through.
The world is our main character. Even though you're playing somebody, we have these NPCs, we have a story, the main character of the game is the world, the province of Skyrim.
So the world in this region really defines the entire look of the game. What creatures live there and what alchemy plants grow there. So we come up with a set of foliage that grows in each region, different color palettes, different lighting, different weather, and then make sure that transitions well between the different regions, but then still fits in with the overall aesthetic of the world.
What makes our RPGs different is the amount of time we spend just building the world and thinking about, as you walk through the game, what are you going to see when you walk into town? You know, what are you going to be able to pick up? What are you going to be able to craft? What are you going to be able to eat?
All of the little things in that are what we obsess over. You could say, well, what effect does that have on gameplay? Let's not overthink it. That's just neat. But they become the key thing that makes you feel that this is all real for the moment I'm in it.
We kind of call it cluttering the world. You can go into a house and steal all the guy's mead. And, you know, that's fun. That was a game you just decided to go do.
I want to touch everything and do it and stare at these bushes that have all been individually modeled and what do their flowers look like, and then you can pick the flowers off and they come off and you can eat them and they do things to you and you can mix them into potions.
It makes a sense of believability to the world. So you really see how people live in it and what they're doing. And a lot of the story is just told by the clutter or the environment that is just built around that character.
There is so much stuff in the game. It is an orders of magnitude larger and has more things in it than we've ever done.
It's not enough for us just to create one large city. We're going to do 5. It's not enough for us to do a few farms or a few places of interest. We're going to do 500 hand-placed things for you to look at in the world. And we're going to keep adding. We're going to keep playing. We're going to keep adding. We're adding up until the end.
When you come out of that first dungeon and you see this huge open valley of pine trees and clouds and these giant mountains like we haven't been able to do in any previous Elder Scrolls game, that part is really special. That's kind of the first part where we're like, yeah, that's what Skyrim's all about. This big, huge, rugged, open world, and you can kind of go wherever you want in it.
Rebellion. If they capture you, oh guys, where are they taking us?
Yeah, did you see that, Josh?
Jeez.
Like everything else, like the plants and the people, we treat the creatures the same, that they live in this world.
Mammoths and giants.
probably the coolest, because you can actually get kind of close to them. You can walk up, as long as you don't get too close, you can walk up and watch them sort of move on by like a slow herd. If you mess around with them, it's not going to be pretty. They're very powerful. Some of the principal villains in the game would be the Draugr. These are sort of mindless undead creatures.
Have archers, porkers, who are these seals.
A cool one that people haven't really seen before is the Falmer. These are another type of elf in Elder Scrolls lore. In Skyrim, the idea is that they've lived underground for a long time, so long that their eyes have all grown over.
We have hag ravens.
She's a really powerful magic user.
Which are evil witches who have decided to trade some of their humanity for all kinds of evil magical powers.
One of my favorites in concept and execution are these ice wraiths.
There's a line in lore that Nords, when they come of age, will go fight an ice wraith. But we didn't really know what an ice wraith looked like. So we didn't want to do just a typical ghost specter thing. So we worked with one of the concept artists, and he had this idea for this really cool serpentine crystalline ice creature.
And they move on the wind. That's the kind of thing that feels more unique to this game. They're pretty terrifying. I think combat is a really, really tricky thing in a game like this. You want to make you, physically, the player who bought the game, feel like you're getting better, but more so that the character on the screen that you are playing is getting better at it. Where do you draw that line? How much does it become a reflex game? I'm good at blocking at the right time versus my character's good at blocking.
Look at combat in a big way. Tried to make it more emotional and impactful and visceral. Have the player moving around more and be moved around more rather than just be kind of static.
I mean, a lot more action-oriented, and that always presents a lot of challenges because it actually involves a lot of math and timing to make it fluid and fun, and a lot of iteration.
We did spend a lot of time just, taking a mace and hitting fake guys in the head on the screen until it, punchier, punchier. Oh, now you're going too far, it looks too silly. Okay, pull back. If we can succeed at, here comes a wolf, and I take an axe and I plant it in his head, and he dies, and I take his hide. Like, if that, just something that simple, you feel like, yeah. You feel good about it, then when we're fighting giants or dragons, that's much easier.
I might switch the camera move on this one, though.
And we looked at the visual experience. The visual experience for us needed to be more immediate, needed to be more like I'm there in the world.
For certain kill moves, you're going to see that the camera's going to slow down, pop into third person.
There's a lot of fun.
I think you're bleeding.
Going to some cinematic perspective quickly and watching your character do something really cool.
We wanted you to be able to see the sword shove through their torso and come out the back like I'm being a real badass, like I'm going to slaughter people, creatures, whatever is out there, I'm going to slaughter it.
Tim Lamb had my favorite name for it, which was Violens. Cinekill was the other one. So we've had all these different names. I mean, any month there was a different name. So I think this month's name is Kill Cam, and I don't think we'll change it. We're getting toward the end. That's Claff the wizard. He's dual wielding.
The key to combat in Skyrim is being able to wield weapons and spells in both hands. So that's a new thing for us.
One of our big mantras going into the game is you are who you play. And a lot of that is, what are you going to put in your hands?
Dual wielding now means, well, I can have a spell in this hand and a sword in this hand. Or I can have a spell in this hand and the same spell in this hand. And what does that do? Oh, guess what? It does something even more powerful.